Hello, guys. Welcome back to Adam Talks Football. We're back again with a sort of another controversial topic that's come up in the last few days. Obviously, originally we had the Manchester City Champions League ban. This time it's the Barcelona sort of emergency transfer of the striker they've done. Obviously, it was Braithwaite. I'll talk about this. It probably won't be too long a video because not too much to cover. But for everyone that's saying, obviously, there's a few people saying like, how's it happened? How they let this happen? It's biased towards Barcelona. I'll explain a little bit of that first. Obviously, if for people that don't know, that it's actually a rule within the Liga, for a player injured long term, obviously like Ousmane Dembele is, that you can like emergency sign a player, but the rules are it has to be from La Liga, or it has to be a free agent. So obviously that's why they've obviously gone for Leganes' Braithwaite, which is unfair on Leganes because obviously which is they can't replace him because they're not even though Barcelona can do it for a player that's injured who will come back. They can't. Leganes can't do it for a player who they have nicked off them outside the transfer window. Because obviously, then you have this like never-ending loop of people signing players, and the chain won't end until someone signs a free agent, which is very, very unlikely for someone to do that if they can just keep signing players. I'll talk about my issues of this, and then I'll talk about the issues with Barcelona doing this. Obviously, I think the issues of this is obviously where in La Liga it's a law or a rule in the league that you have to have a buyout clause. All players have to have a buyout clause in the league when they're signed into a contract. So obviously that makes it really unfair for players signing like Braithwaite because Leganes can't turn down the transfer because Barcelona have activated his £18 million buyout clause. Obviously, maybe they could adjust the law a little bit. I think completely it could be scrapped because it's a stupid law. Obviously, I think the law anywhere is obviously you can bring a free agent in out of the transfer window and use them as that, which is fair enough. But obviously, there's not that many good free agents knocking about anyway, so it would make a difference. But I think the Liga should probably knock it on the head completely, because as everyone else does, because obviously people didn't know that rule in the first place. But even knowing that rule, I think it's still a stupid idea, because obviously it's unfair because you've got big heavyweights like Barcelona that can afford to just activate these buyout clauses whenever they want and sign players like this of people like the Garners who are at the moment challenging for those top four places, even the Europa League spots. So obviously they've lost two of their attacking players. They lost one in the window, and now they've lost Braithwaite to Barcelona out the window, who they can't replace. So that might put them in a bad position for what they're challenging for now, because obviously it's unfair on teams like that where they could activate it. Maybe it would work a little bit better if they completely disregarded buyout clauses, like they just weren't a thing in the league. Because obviously, if you disregard the buyout clause, you have a little bit of leeway of, oh no, we're not going to send you this much. You want this much, but as soon as the buyout clause is activated, they have to sell him, or they're not in a good position not to sell him. So if the buyout clauses were gone, that might help, like level the playing field a little bit, because obviously it'd be like it would be in the transfer window. They can turn down fees for players they don't want to get rid of if they're too important, especially knowing that they can't replace them, which I think is a bit unfair on them as well, because they didn't really have a say in it, especially with the buyout clauses. But that's the only way I really could see them fixing it, is getting the buyout clauses gone, because then it gives the clubs who are getting the players taken away from them unfairly a little bit more leverage on the situation and a bit more control than just, oh, here's 18 million for your buyout clause, we'll take your player off you, you can't replace him, so that could put you in a bad state for the rest of the season. Because a lot of these players, are on lower wages, and so it's going to be easy to get them to come over because Barcelona are paying more wages. The problem I have now, we're moving on to the problem I have actually Barcelona doing this, because Barcelona, one of the biggest clubs in the world, probably, I wouldn't say the biggest club, but maybe the biggest club in the world, depending on what part of the world you're in. But I think obviously they're known for having a good academy. They brought the likes through of like Messi, and at the moment they have Fati coming through, like players like that. They have players in their academy they can use to subsidise the squad. That should be the idea of having a youth squad and everything else. That once a player's injured in the season, I thought to me that's the general idea of having a squad and a big squad and a youth squad. Once one player's injured for the season, out of the transfer window in the season, you can bring players into that squad to fill their place and get experience, even if they are youth players, and give them the chance. Because obviously, if anyone could do this, obviously I know it's not ruling other leagues, so I can't say too much. But if anyone could do this, youth players might not even get a chance as often as they could do, because it stomps it out. But there's no point in Barcelona possibly having one of the best academies in the world, investing into that academy and using it, and then like putting money into it, getting players in, to not show them there's a pathway through. Because what's the point? How many players are going to go to your academy now, especially Barcelona's academy? Obviously, yeah, they're Barcelona, they're always going to have an allure. But if you're a young, really talented player who has a pick of a few academies, why would you go to Barcelona knowing that if there's an injury crisis, you probably won't get called up anyway? They're going to get some bloke in who used to play for Middlesbrough who couldn't score for Middlesbrough. Obviously, they brought him in because he's a bit physical. That's what the manager said. He wanted a physical player. But why would you go to another team at like Barcelona's academy as a young player, knowing that I might even get a shot if there's a player in injury? Because that's what you rely on in the academy. Obviously, you break in when you're old enough, but you also rely on maybe a bit of luck for the break of a player getting injured, and they don't have anyone else to replace him, and you're the best performer in the academy to go into that position. So I think that's where it's a bit wrongly done, because I know I think a lot of people agree with me who look a little bit into Barcelona. They are a bit of a state at the moment. Barcelona aren't the organised sort of team they used to be when Pep was there, and obviously you had Messi, Xavi, and Iniesta. They are a bit of a mess. They have a defined way of playing football, but they're sort of starting to lose that identity at the moment. And obviously, this is another nail in the coffin of they got an academy, but they don't know how to use it, or they're not using it properly, and they're not giving these players a chance. They're just signing someone like Martin Braithwaite in, and also crippling other clubs, which obviously I know people don't really care about. If you're at Barcelona, you don't care you're taking that player to cripple the club. But from an outside perspective of someone who's not a Barcelona supporter, not really. I follow the Liga, but obviously I'm not like waving the flag for the Liga. It's a bit of a like mick take, really, because they basically crippled another club who's having a good go at the Champions League spots and even Europa League spots, because they're in the Europa League at the moment, I believe, and just ruining it from out of the season when they thought they were safe and they could have like really kick on, because they've already lost an attacker, so they don't want to lose another one. But I think, really, as I said, my thoughts really are it needs to be knocked on the head, because you can't have it like that. I don't think it will do, because obviously I think Valencia are looking into it at the moment, because Garay is injured for 5 to 6 months, and I think they're looking at the alternative options to get someone in, which again probably means they'll take someone from the likes of Leganes or Getafe, who are currently punching above, I don't know if it's above their weight, but quite high in the league. And they've all got, a lot of them are on low wages, and they obviously will be easy to take from other clubs because they give them more money and they'll pay the buyout clause, and the buyout clause probably won't be particularly high because a lot of them haven't signed new contracts. So they're crippling clubs who are really trying to progress and battle for themselves and make this better state of their club by just taking their best players or maybe their useful players and just depleting what they have and taking it into their squad just because they can go, we can pay a buyout clause, we'll have you because we can't do anything else. We don't want to use our academy. But I think they should be enforced to use their academy. I think it should be a thing where that's the idea of set up. As I said, I've said it many times in this video already. But what's the point of having? They have Barcelona. They're Barcelona B in the Barcelona B in the Segunda. They have their youth academies. They have players all the way through the ranks. They even have said fringe players of the first team who could probably slot in and do a job in that position who they're not going to use just because they want to bring someone in who, well, he's not even, I'd say proven, but he's a professional. He's not proven. He's not scored mountains of goals really anywhere he's gone. But I think the whole idea of it I've heard everyone say it, I'm not the first to say it, I won't be the last to say it, it's ridiculous, it's unfair. What's the point in anything if you can, what's the point in the transfer window if you can just sign players willy-nilly outside of it just because you've got an injury? That's part of being a football club. You've got to deal with injuries. You've got to have a squad to deal with injuries. If you don't have the squad to deal with injuries in the transfer window, that's your own fault. Because imagine if that was in the Premier League now, Man City lost when they lost Laporte and they go, we're low on centre-backs, can we sign a centre-back, and it gave them the chance. That'd make the league probably completely different this year. Because they would have got a centre-back in who would have maybe, they still wouldn't be battling with Liverpool that clear, but it might be a little bit closer than it already was. Because obviously Laporte was such a big part in that team. But you see what I'm coming from. Any other league you put it into, just because it's a law in that league and always has been, it doesn't make sense. Because if you put it in any other context in any other league, in any other situation this year, it's completely unfair. It's completely stupid, and it's not pointless, but you know what I mean. It's completely unfair on teams outside the transfer and who get their players nicked, because they were building for something good, and it stops the development of these teams. It's really rare. Obviously, I think people are so shocked by it and didn't understand it, the law within the league, because it hasn't happened in a while, and it's such a big profile because it's Barcelona do it, which probably makes it worse because that's shining light on the league in a bad way, because the biggest team, or one of the biggest teams in the league, don't have the squad or the youth academy in their eyes, or the experience on the board, which they should do, to just bring a player through from the academy or the second team to replace that player and give him a chance. But I don't want to talk too long because I feel like I'm going to start repeating points, but I'll give it in bullet points my final thoughts. Obviously, either get rid of the law, which they won't do anyway. I don't think they get rid of it. So alter it to where they either don't have buyout clauses. If you're going to keep it, get rid of the buyout clauses, the compulsory buyout clauses in the league, because then you give the team who's losing that player a bit more leverage, which they should do. They should be in the position of power in that situation. You shouldn't be the team needing a player who could easily grab one from somewhere else within their ranks and not doing it. Shouldn't be the ones that would be able to go, right, we'll give this 80 million, now we're in power, we've got him off you. So I think either that's probably the main answer is if they're not going to get rid of it, get rid of the buyout clauses, because then it gives the team the leverage to go, no, we're not going to send you. If you want him, you have to pay this much. Obviously, yeah, it's probably their fault for putting a low buyout clause on him. But I think buyout clauses are a bit stupid anyway, because why would you? I understand it's compulsory in the league, but if you put one on a player you want to keep and expect to go, make it higher, but then you're not always going to judge you. You're not going to, especially a person like Braithwaite, you're not going to put a big buyout clause on him because you bought him from places where he hasn't particularly been scoring many goals. He contributes, but he's not a big money signing, and expect him to score goals. So you're not going to put a big price tag on him. But as I said, just get rid of buyout clauses if you're going to keep that rule of the league, because it makes it unfair. Because there's some teams that can't do that and meet the buyout clause, but you can have teams like Barcelona who have the ability to bring players in and just don't and buy them. But it's ridiculous. Obviously, as I said, they should get rid of it. I don't think it should be allowed to happen, but obviously it's going to happen. I don't think it might bite me to say this, but I think it's going to be a waste of 18 million. He's going to come in, and they would have been no better off than they would have just bringing a player in. So it makes in my opinion, it makes the league look a little bit worse just for the law, because obviously now it's come to the forefront. No one really understood it. They didn't know it was a law, but that thing's been such a big controversy from the Liga, and everyone's been talking about it. Because I remember the day it happened, everyone was talking about it. It was all over BBC Sport, all over the English press. It's like, this is ridiculous. How I know, even though it's a law, how can they do this? So obviously, I think it's tainted the team. Obviously, being such a big team, they are not having the facilities to do that, and also the league. Just because obviously the law's there, the law's not solid enough. But I think that was my real answer. The answer was just get rid of buyout clauses if you're going to keep it, but it should be abolished. I think it should be abolished. It's a stupid rule. I think everyone watching and everyone who's looked into it will agree that it's a stupid rule. That's all I really have to say on that, guys. Obviously, second video on the channel, so if you liked it and enjoyed the video, like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.